Good morning, community. It's pretty late. It doesn't matter what time it is, but it's kind of late right now. And I was just online doing some research. I have a little bit of an infection, not an infection, but a irritant on my eye that I was rubbing. So don't be worried about me because one of my eyes is kind of puffy. But I just heard Umar Johnson's interview on The Breakfast Club, a show I hadn't heard of before, but apparently it's a well-known show. I've seen it had lots of notable guests on the show before, and it was interesting. He talked about what he does, which is black boys and their education and the context that in which many are educated, which is not helpful to them, misdiagnosis with HDD, etc. And I was with him pretty much regarding his concern about black boys and how the educational system in this country is biased. The testing for what intelligence is in this country is biased. And a lot of people who take those tests, boys, they don't do well, not because they lack the intelligence, but they're culturally biased and they're not really developed with the black experience in mind. And all that I understand. As a matter of fact, I was for lack of a better term, victim of that circumstance. But where he lost me was his discussion finally on homosexuality and what leads to homosexuality and the perpetual comparison that people who call themselves Pan-Africanists keep making with pedophiles somehow. And I think most of us know that pedophiles are adults who have a sexual obsession with children. And they always bring in pedophilia with homosexuality as if there's a unique association between the two. The fact of the matter is, most pedophiles are older men who sexually rape or molest females or young girls. And of course, there definitely are older men who do the same with young boys. That's a definite phenomena that exists and should be attended to and dealt with. But it's a misnomer to constantly associate homosexuality with pedophilia. Matter of fact, if you're going to do any associations, which I wouldn't do, I'm just making a point, you would associate pedophilia with heterosexuality. But it doesn't make any sense. You should, in my opinion, you should associate pedophilia with mental illness and people with an issue who have a need to molest children and manipulate and sexually control and violate children. That's a problem. But again, my problem with him is the association between homosexuality and pedophilia. Then he goes on to say that people are homosexuals because they were molested by an adult. He goes on to say that men are homosexuals because there was no man in the house, and females are homosexuals because he gives a few reasons for that there was no woman in the house, or a man turned them out by demanding that they had sex with women, and all kinds of perspectives. And what I invite the Breakfast Club, as well as Omar, to do is have a conversation about this with somebody like myself who can speak from an experienced and expert perspective on the issue of homosexuality and bisexuality in the black community. When these brothers like Omar and others talk about this issue, it's always a monologue. It's always them speaking about it by themselves and typically to an audience that's going to amen corner or affirm everything that they say. And there's something I think really that really lacks courage in this department. Have a conversation with a same gender loving person there and find out what their perspective is, who actually have a lived experience with this issue, and also find out if the theories are really applicable in all instances. Because human beings vary and there's all kinds of experiences that occur, some of what he says, I'm sure, has some truth for somebody. For example, he mentions being a psychologist, and he says that most of the people that have come to him for his help have been molested. Well, the key word is psychologists. People who need psychologists are often traumatized and are struggling with something, and that's why they need his help. I don't need his help. And most same gender loving people do not need his help. He does not see the whole population. He sees those who are so troubled that they need his help. So I think a key component here in terms of people he's spoken to are people who are struggling with something and they need the help of a psychologist. So of course the people that he talks to will be case studies for him. But for him to universalize the issue and think the people that come to him for psychological help is everybody is problematic. That's why this issue should not be discussed in a monologue all the time. So I'm not sure if he or people connected with him will see this particular video, but I want to put out there that his perspectives on homosexuality, on masculinity, on the co-factors leading to homosexuality that he universalizes, is supposedly in a position of a psychologist, have a lot of holes in them, a lot of things that are inconsistent with norms. And I would gladly address these issues as an expert on these issues, as a person who's a behavioral health expert, who studies psychology, and who studies behavior change a lot in terms of risk reduction in people's lives, who are putting themselves at risk for different things, including sexually transmitted diseases, weight issues, gang associations, all kinds of things I've worked with, and have been successful at transforming people from problematic, risky behaviors to behaviors that are more affirming, healthy, and help them to have more of an exemplary version of critical thinking and reasoning. But anyway, you might want to check out the Breakfast Club video with Umar. Is circling quite widely and is getting a lot of support. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the whole story around this issue. I think that's all I'll say for now, because if I go any further, it'll be more of a monologue myself. And I don't want to do a monologue either. I want to have conversations with people. So I hope this particular version of my perspective is resonant with someone. And let's take this to the stage. Let's discuss it on the community level so we can stop perpetuating oppression and division in the Black community across our differences. And frankly, while a lot of what Umar says I think it's great, particularly around the issues concerning Black boys, some things he says are questionable and will be seen as problematic if indeed he was involved in a dialogue with the likes of myself and even some others on the issue of homosexuality and bisexuality in the Black community. Thanks for listening. I'll be back at some point. Ashe.